Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. My mic is working first time out the gate for once, and we're here tonight with another round. It's a Tuesday, and you know what that means. Not fish, SIMSeniors, and it's going to be a real good one too. Now, we're going to keep things short and sweet, as we are about to jump into the heat of Misano. We are going to jump in straight to qualifying with the drivers, and we have a lot to discuss in a very short amount of time. Of course, you know the track as well as I do. It is Misano. Love or hate it, it is the Marmite of the calendar, one could very easily argue. I think for the most part, drivers are kind of wary about the entrance into, or say the exit of, to be more accurate, the pit lane. And that is going to be a bit of sort of a point of contention, I think, for some. Just making sure that they keep things on the straight and narrow and making sure that they keep out of the way of the other cars. Just making sure as well that we are cleared to get to the track. And that are... there we go. We are all synced up now. So that is not the correct track map. We are going to quickly have a look and see how the calendar is looking, because we're at the halfway point at this stage, folks. We're here tonight with Misano, and then we cross over that all-important halfway threshold. It's going to be where the championship really starts to heat up and where things really do get a bit more interesting. I'm personally pretty excited for this one. I think it is a bit of a wild card of a round, and I'm certainly looking forward to seeing where this goes. There you go. That's the correct track map. So you can see right at the bottom, that right angle kink. That's where we see the track diverge and where we see drivers coming out on the exit of turn 3. So got to be wary, got to be careful of where the racers are coming out. Now let's go trackside, folks, because we have got our first racers officially bombing it around the course, and we will be tracking with them now. So let's go alongside them here, and let's see what they have to offer. So it's going to be, as we start things off, this is Craig Morrison. We are going to be doing a refresh in order to make sure that we have got everyone's liveries. It looks like Morrison is not quite showing properly, but here we go. So, key thing with Misano here, it's all about keeping up the momentum. You have a lot of sharp angles in Sector 1, so a lot of 90 degrees plus, or hairpins, double apex, as you can see here, end of the sector. Name of the game, keep the speed up. Keep the smooth inputs and consistency, and then you will be just fine. So he's making his way through, just keeping things nice and smooth, or at least as smooth as one physically can, as we make our way through the second sector. This is a some lovingly refer to it as the penalty loop, and we have got penalty in other events around this track. They would take a bit of a wider line around that part of the circuit, but here, and this is the real test of the circuit. The consecutive right-handers keeping the speed up, nailing your line as you head into Curva del Carro and through the final sector of the course. To say the aptly named final corner, Curva Misano, that is going to be where we cap off the lap. And what's our first timing on the board going to be? Out of the 45 cars in session today, it's going to be a 1:36 to start things off from Morrison, and we have a couple more cars who are going to be following on behind. There is a 1:34 coming in from Derek Hall, and that's going to be immediately jumped on by Nick Coulomb with a 33.8. Homer coming up to the line, it gets a 35.0. And you can see the silver class is absolutely on fire as things kick off here. Peter Smith coming up to the line, rep for the bronze here, as we're going to see potentially 36s, 37s coming from the McLaren. It's a 36.8. That is good enough for fourth in class so far, as the rest of the field still has yet to make an appearance. Here comes Anel Thiersen. Now, I have been informed that there is an issue with Awesome, which is our third-party livery client. There is an issue with it at the moment, meaning that not all liveries are going to display correctly as intended. So apologies to everyone who has had issues or is not displaying properly. We'll try and get that repaired for the next half of the session. We might take a short technical intermission rather than sort of spending some trackside time going through the drivers, just to make sure that everyone is displaying correctly as provided. We are also looking to patch up some of the liveries where drivers have provided their files. And in the event of liveries not quite showing as intended, say, just know that there's an issue with the client. That is not necessarily sort of our side. We're trying to get it resolved as soon as possible, regardless. So we go, a few more cars now making their way up. Arscombe getting an improvement up into net 6th place. Going to be seeing Julius once again make an appearance and really punching above his weight class. Stuart Holmes gets a 35.5, but Julius is a 34.6. This Mustang is a real rocket ship in the class here, and I'm not sure if he's been doing some magical training in the background, but the key operating factor here is that there is certainly some real speed under the hood of Julius if he can get things under control in race trim. Because as it stands, he's got a lot of penalty points, and that was marring previous results. So this is coming up to the final few minutes of the qualifying segment. At the 10-minute mark, we will transition and hand over to the gold class of cars, who are going to be waiting in the wings. So there's Wayne Bowler getting a 34.9, but invalid time, unfortunately. So Niesbet is going to have a sort of yellow flag as he goes back into the pits, but scored a 35.6. So that's going to put him third in class here, as the rest of the drivers are now going to make their way through. Coming up to Curva Misano, here's Peter Smith, who is going to hopefully improve on his 36.8 that he set out last time, towards the bottom end of the class, but he's still really looking for a 35 if he wants to make this one work. 36.1. So that is going to be enough to make it happen. And we will see some fireworks coming out as the field is going to quickly start racing to get things going. Here's Randy Zimmer up to the line. And we're hoping to see some good running for. And does improve, 35.4. So that's going to put him in P7 with the silvers. Julius has managed to push up to a 34.0. What is under the hood of this Mustang? It's got to be some kind of forbidden boost juice running through that V8, because, oh blimey, it is going quick. That's going to be certainly a driver to watch. If he can tame that pace in race trim, we could be looking at a driver with some serious champion potential. But too late in the game, potentially, if we can't get those points up. It's going to be Craig Morrison up to the line. Gets 35.8, so not quite the improvement he was desiring for. Meanwhile, Daniel Groich in the bronze class here. So he's got P5, looking to push that envelope a little bit harder. And even just getting a 10th will leapfrog him all the way to 3rd. So 10th on the clock. Could this be anything for him here? He had it on the books, but just not in the valid sense. So unfortunately invalidated his lap here, so that will not be standing. Say Thurston coming up. More to give still. They're pushing hard at this point to try and get some good running in this lap. Say Thurston potentially looking at moving up the standings. About middle of the pack last we checked in on him, but it's not able to secure a time just yet, and he's got 35 seconds before the gold class cars start coming through. So really, it's last chances here for bronze and silver before the rest of the field make an appearance. Roger Disbiquez coming up to the line, 38 flat, but needs to improve beyond his 36.8 previous best. It is going to be Derek Hall, of course, one of the fastest runners that we saw earlier in the session. And in the number 14, McLaren, he's going to be one of the cars that definitely has made a mission statement. So Hall towards the back end of the standings, but does have a chance to really make an impact here, as we have seen Nick Coolan go 33.3. And that's going to be a return shot, 33.6 flats coming in from Hall. Meanwhile, we can see everyone in the gold class is rocketing around the field, trying to get themselves moving and get themselves in fighting order. So let's see what these racers have to show. And right now, just trying to find out exactly where everyone stands on this grid. Now, we've got to say a lot of cars to watch out for here. Of course, we have had the incumbent gold class champions fight each other. We've had, say, Liam Blom, we've had Guillemard, the two drivers to be keeping an eye on for sure. Also had some other racers who have made some appearances and have been showing their ability. So it all comes to a head here at Misano, and this is a track where your use of the track limits and the track space is absolutely key to success. Days. Wait, Smith, you mean to tell me that this is your first time driving the track? With that context in mind, that was a bloomin' good result. Absolutely great job there, mate. Well done. That's if that is genuinely your first time driving the track, I salute you. That's all I can say. But here we go. Here's what the gold class have to offer. Now, best time on the floor currently stands at a 1:33.367. That currently is courtesy of Nick Coolan, followed by Derek Hall and Paul Hamby. We'll see Sean Julius in 4th position overall, but also leading for the bronze class. And we'll see the rest of the field follow suit in a few key moments. But this is where time is now of the essence. 7:40 on the clock. Gold class now have time to get on. And crucially, with a bit of time progression and a bit of rubber being laid down by the previous racers, this is where we're going to see those times start to drop, drop, drop. These are best of the best in the championship right now. On the course, we're going to see the Mustang leads ahead of the Nismo, as that is going to be a familiar face towards the front of qualifying. Lenatus trailing ever so slightly behind is Jimmy Engdahl in the McLaren. Seen a few drivers returning for this session as well, having not been here previously. See, pushing forward here, and times are coming through now. So let's see what the timing board has to offer us. To say Holmberg's going to come through, and it's going to be a pretty spread field, admittedly, in first impressions. We're going to see Holmberg coming up to the line. No time here. Say a couple of invalidations across the board. Patrick Larson comes up to the line, for instance. It's going to be a 34.6. Going to be Sean O'Neill, 34.8. We have Guillemard currently with the fastest time and is going to be leading Lindblom by a 10th, who just came across to set his at a .750. So nobody has yet beat the silver times set by Coolan and Hall. This is where it's going to get tense now. The drivers have established their home bases, and now It's all about precision. It's all about honing and bringing down those deltas. Let's see, Grosges comes up to the line here. It's going to be a P1. It's a 33.235. Question is, can the rest of the field hope to combat and match it? It's going to be Guillemot up to the line. Previously purple, but now not so sure. Has a chance to really push past and get some advantage here. He's gone purple in the dying moments. It's a .140 with a perfect final corner here. This is a beautiful run coming out as more cars are going to make their way. Björklund getting himself into P4 overall. Engdahl is not going to be too far behind in pushing for his own lap. It's James Payton, who is in the Mercedes AMG, looking for a chance and for a fight on money. Let's see what he's got. Rotates through. And the Mercedes does just invalidate at the last corner. It looks like he was green up until that point. But no dice, sadly. Liam Blom once again making his way through. 33.7 to beat. And he's going to make it a 33.4 flats. Perfectly gains by 3.5 tenths of a second. It's still going to be behind Björklund, who matches Coolen time in P4. But it's going to be a measured improvement nonetheless. He's still going to be behind Guillemot by a few crucial tenths, but we have still got a few more laps on the table. It's time to really push for it now. Matthias Lang in the Pixel Pilots GTR. You've got to show strength now. There is a time where he can push for it. It's got to be now. As time is not going to be on his side, it will not be his friend. Make his way through the final corner. Guillemot could be on track for a major improvement, but let's see what Lang has got in store. Comes across the line. It's a .412. That's going to slot him ahead of Wolfslenner and just behind Lindblom. Well executed there from the GTR. Let's see if the rest of the field can try to match. Lindblom is going to be going for another bite of the cherry with 3 minutes to go. Comes up to the final corner of the circuit. Remember, 33.140 to beat. Can he get this extracted out of the final corner? He can! Beautiful final corner. He clutches it in the dying moments of the lap. It's a 100th of a second, but it's enough. Guillemot is down to P2. What's the Mustang going to do to respond? Was on the teetering line of purple, but has now seemingly lost his advantage through Sector 2. Has completely lost his advantage by the looks of things, and it looks like Lindblom is going to be the one that continues to push. Guillemot has in fact invalidated this lap. What about Björklund, another one of the Mustangs that is currently on the course, also losing time into Sector 3 now. And it's going to be a hard-fought lap to finish things, but it's going to be a bit too close to the wire. Now, anyone in the pits by this point, it's safe to assume, is not going out again. So, Björklund, cross the line, is a .397. No improvement here from the orange Mustang. What about the white Mustang as they go to start the lap as well? Looks like they're about on par with their previous. Lindblom is teetering on the ragged edge, but is actually dropping, or is he? He's going to be really teetering on the edge of an improvement here. He got a perfect Sector 3 to clutch up about a second, about a 100th of a second. A tenth and a half specifically he pulled out of this final corner alone, judging by the deltas. But he's going to come across the line. Is there going to be more here? It's going to be enough for a 1/4 of a tenth improvement, and that's going to solidify his top spot as Guillemot retires to the pits following an invalidation once more. Last chances for the racers on the field now. If you haven't crossed that finish line yet, then you want to think about doing it fast. I think everyone is going to have another chance who's currently on circuit, but if you're in the pits, you are done. That is it. Time to see what these racers really stack up for in the race. Of course, race trim, full hour, and all the trimmings that you could expect. Pit stop Fuel required, tyres optional, strategy aiming towards the half-hour mark, and a lot of wheel-to-wheel combat between 3 classes of cars. It's going to be a good one. I think Misano is one of those, like we said at the beginning, a Marmite track. You either love it or you hate it, but regardless, it is always a track that can, depending on the circumstances, produce some fiery racing. Like, once you get that perfect combination of ingredients, that's when things really start to heat up. But let's see who's going across the line. Holmberg P13. Is there any improvement here from the Aston? It's going to be a last-ditch effort to try and get across the line in time for these racers. Peyton might just be shy of the line. I don't think he's going to make it here. He makes his way down, and he's not. He can't make it in time. He gets an improvement, but he's not going to get a second bite of the cherry. That is game over. So, last chances for many. Justin Cutler retiring to the pits after a failed attempt to go past P21. 34.3 for the Nismo. Let's see what Grosges has in store. He's going to be running purple. This could be a chance for a major upset at the top of the field. No, he overcooks it at the final corner. That could have been stellar. That could have been a 33-0, but just the final corner, he takes a bit too much. Wolfslander up to line, and no improvement either. It seems like these last runs are a bit of a cursed affair, as a 34.5 becomes a 34.3 for Chris Bourne. He jumps up a single place, but that might just be enough to get an advantage. And oh no, Leonardo's kick in the rear, spinning out, might be impeding potentially on Johan Larsson. Was on good form, but actually still managing to salvage a really good lap. That's a P8. 33.427. Loris O'Wiggle is going to be heading back into the pits after an unsuccessful attempt. Holmberg is going to be last, I believe, across the line as the rest of the drivers head into the pits. And that is session done. Improvement for the Aston into P12, and that is your session cleared. So let's take a look at our top 3 while we take a technical intermission just to try and resolve any kind of livery issues in a moment. So, taking your top 3 look, it's going to be Lindblom who takes the top and pole position here for the gold class, alongside Guillemard, about half a tenth of a second behind, and then a tenth behind that is going to be Maximilian Grosges, who had on paper a 33-0, but unfortunately couldn't make it stick in the final corner. 4th is going to be going to Nick Coolan, also known as pole position for silver, and that is not going to be followed too far behind by Derek Hall, a quarter of a second away, and then just a little bit behind that at P15 and 4/10 further. That's going to be Paul Hamby in 3rd place. Sean Julius is the talk of the night, though, in bronze, as he secured a very strong opening lap and a 34.0, which, for context, is almost an entire second clear of Stuart Holmes' 2nd place. We've got Daniel Groch as well, who is in 3rd and is about half a second behind that, but we are going to take a quick technical break, folks, in order to try and get some of these liveries fixed and then rejoin you on the track, so don't go anywhere. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Thank you for your patience as always. I can confirm that we have got Morrison's livery fixed. So there you go. There's his BMW in all its glory. And we will be taking a quick grid walk now. So, let's see what these races have to show us.
20 seconds.
And let's take a walk through the field. So, first row, as we take a look, is going to be Lindblom alongside Guillemot, say the two championship rivals, of course, in the melting pot for the title in gold, alongside Maximilian Grosges, and then is going to be Nick Coolen in fourth, but pole position for silver to complete the second row. Row 3 is going to be Björklund alongside Wolfslener in the Mustang and the Ferrari respectively, and then Matthias Lang in the Nismo GTR, and Johan Larsson in his classic 848 red McLaren. Completing your top 10 is going to be Jimmy Engdahl and then Colin McNair in 9th and 10th with the McLaren and the Nismo Iron Brew livery. Derek Hall is going to be in P11 alongside Matthias Holmberg in P12. And then we will see Dave Marsh alongside Patrick Larson in 13th and 14th place. Paul Hamby is going to be lining up alongside Thomas Linatas in row 8 with the BMW and the Nismo GTR. James Payton is going to be row 9 alongside Sean Julius, pole position sitter for bronze in the Mercedes and the Ford Mustang. Completing your top 20 is going to be Loris O'Wiggle in P19 and Wayne Bowler in P20. Justin Cutler is going to be P21, showing a very nice Repsol themed Nismo alongside Chris Bourne in the Aston. Ostrachar is going to be in his BMW alongside Robert Homer in the Porsche 911. Sean O'Neill in 25th alongside Stuart Holmes in the Mustang and then the BMW as well. Pedro Serrano in that beautiful purple colour for the M4, and then Randy Zimmer in his well-known orange. Alex North is going to be P29 in the albeit McLaren-themed Aston, and then now with the livery, as corrected, is Craig Morrison in P30. Oscar in P31 with the 76 Aston Martin, and 32 is Daniel Groich in the 431 Ferrari. Simon A is going to be 33 in the Aston, alongside Ibrahim Diekman in the number 19 Porsche. Another Mercedes AMG on the grid, this time Craig Niesbet alongside Helge Olsen in P36. And following that, you're going to have David Smith just ahead of Peter, but in between them two is going to be Eero Vasuri, and then completing up to 40 is going to be, as we'll see in a minute, John Eade, also in the McLaren. Last couple of cars before we see the field go hot. Anil Thirdsson, still liveryless, unfortunately, apologies for that, in the 157 Porsche. Frank Tennant in the number 44 Bentley. Roger Desmarquez in the 420 Porsche. John McIntosh in the number 720 McLaren. And finally, Damien Reed in the 45th position. Is that Tato? In the 979 Aston. Okay. Perfect timing as well. We jump to the helicopter. We can see the field is coming in hot. Looks like some of my HUD elements are not working as intended. There we go, folks. So we are ready. We are about to go racing. And let's see what the track has in store. Track is hot. Away we go. It's an hour of racing ahead. Lindblom immediately going to the outside line, trying to get the ideal corner and get the run on Guillemot. He's going to tap the rear, make a bit of a knock at the door. And you can see the rest of the field is going to quickly, frenetically try and get some space. There's going to be contact made as there is going to be Björklund round alongside other cars at the back. My my telemetry data is completely going wild and it can't even keep up with all of the cars that are marooned at the back. There's Payton, Serrano, Björklund and Holmes as well, who have been sort of dropped down significantly owing in part to contact. Lots of chaotic happenings here. We'll, of course, get our full recap a little bit later on, but we can see not out the woods yet. There is going to be a Ferrari going adrift of the course. There's going to be multiple contacts. Jumping, in fact, back to the helicopter. I don't really think we can capture this all in one go. But racers going side by side, looking for any chance they can get on the attack, as the rest of the field has started to get a bit of a jump away ahead. Chaos reigns in the mid-pack. Here's McNair challenging on Holmberg, side by side all the way through Sector 2 and now Sector 3 before the Nismo just gets a bit more of a run into that hairpin corner at the top of Sector 3. And you can see even Linatus is trying to get a bite of the cherry. He pulls up alongside the other Nismo driver. Is going to have the apex all the way through Sector 3 as it's consecutive left-handers. And then coming up to finish first lap, Chaos reigns, as there is going to be a car spun on the track. That is Stuart Holmes. And we have already seen some major casualties as he tries to regain control of his car, bring it back home. You'll see, oh no, even more cars. I don't even believe this, folks. And there is chaos at the start of this race. What do you even make of it? Absolute anarchy on this racetrack. As Holmberg is out, Wolfslener is down, and more drivers are going side by side and into each other's sides than there are keeping on the track. Absolutely wild happenings going on here, folks. Insanity going on this racetrack. You can see Damien Reed as a driver who's capitalised on this very nicely, though. Look at him scything his way up into now P33 as he's continuing to push hard against his competition. We saw Wayne Bowler, who was previously involved in a couple of incidents just prior. Sean Julius getting a contact warning. But let's wind back those clocks. Let's try and see exactly what happened. We saw, of course, the chaos that was at the start of the race, but let's take a bit of a moment and see where these drivers are sort of having issues. A lot of cases of outbraking themselves. This was just one moment earlier, but the writing's on the wall in so many different ways. But say contact left, right, just constant bumping, and you can't really keep the proximity in the same way that you can at other tracks. The most important thing is you just need to survive. You've just got to survive, honestly. Make it through. Get yourself into a position where you don't have to fight. Get the run in, get the laps down. There's too much at risk. Too much at risk early days. It's so difficult to recover here. It's a tense road. Is Wayne Bowler going to be dropping down the order like a stone? Is he going off track? Yellow flags galore. And we'll have to check in with another major incident that we saw prior. So this is going to be from the helicopter perspective. This is Wayne Bowler. And we'll try and get a bit of an answer exactly what happened on that they triple stack up here. You can see, say, Holmberg and co getting up there. There's going to be multiple contacts made, getting sandwiched in the end, going off the side of the track, and how one incident immediately led to others. It's just chaos all round, no matter which way you slice it. I have to check a bit on the top end of the field, though, as while the mid and lower pack is quite the show. The main thing is that at the top, this is given a chance for so many drivers to get away. Lang is on the back of Kulan, Grosges is on the back of Guillemar, and Guillemar is 1.5 seconds away from Lindblom. Indeed, the squabbling behind him, and this is almost emblematic of the wider race. The squabbling in the mid and lower pack has allowed all of these drivers at the top effectively to get away scot-free. I mean, McNair, he's 5.5 seconds away from Derek Hall up ahead. He can't pull that back. We've essentially split the pack in two. And there's not much you can do to come back from that. Not to mention all of the drivers who might be considering for an early pit, given the circumstances and potential damage that they've sustained. Is David Smith, for example, on the defence from Anil Therdsen, as our timing board goes absolutely insane. I think is just having a bit of shell shock, like many of us at home might be. But you can see Therdsen going on the attack, Smith going very wide here. I think, given the context of not having experience in this track, just taking it a bit more conservatively. Maybe there's a bit of damage at play. Maybe they got involved in one of the earlier incidents. You can see holding firm on the outside. Fairly neutral lines they're taking. They're adhering to basic racing lines where possible. You can see there's Diekman just up ahead. Also going for a bit of a challenge on position there. I think that's going to be chasing down Rich Arscombe, as Loris is going to manipulate space-time as he jumps around the order on the timing board. As Loris, who continually jumps to the bottom, then to the top, and all looking like a bit of chaos. Well, it's good to see everyone in chat who's joining us for this interesting endeavor, as the chaos has hopefully calmed down. We've had a frenetic first opener, we've had a pretty interesting 5 laps, and now hopefully we get to a state of equilibrium where the drivers have got a bit more room around the course. You can see they've spread out around half of the racing surface now, and we split into 2, nearly 3 packs of cars. Hopefully it's a sign that things are relaxing just a little. I mean, Craig Morrison's going to be leading the 3rd set, if you will, of racers on this course. He's not going to be for long, as Chris Bourne is going to make a challenge on the inside. And most crucially, at this point of the track, he has the advantage 100%. He's got the apex for 4 corners here. There you go, 1, 2, 3, and 4, but just taking it too narrow, going to dart out wide and have to compensate, and yield is a challenge. Because you couldn't have got it off track. That would have drawn the ire of the stewards for sure. I'll make sure your attacks are fast but fair. No replacement or excuse for bad sportsmanship. So good to see, and that is one thing that I have immense respect for all of the drivers on this field, is that no matter what, being a good sport and being respectful of your fellow drivers always comes center stage. And we see that in the etiquette, we see that in the on-track behavior, sometimes self-administering a penalty, like yielding position back if you gain it off track or gain it non-intentionally. We see stuff like that all the time here, and it's just a testament to the integrity of the drivers that we have on the course. The drivers flying through now. Grosges still is hot on the heels of Guillemot and not really able to gain, but also not losing time either. Guillemot's kind of got his own bag of problems though, as Lindblom is effectively teasing him in the distance. He can't really gain on the NSX, but knows that he has to because his championship lies in wait, and he can't really deal with Grosges sending it down the inside and effectively dragging the both of them off onto the runoff in the final corner. Guillemot's not going to be happy with that one, but as mentioned previously, Grosges does yield the position back, albeit at a cost of 1.5 seconds between himself and Lindblom. That's definitely going to be a fire-stoked belly of the beast, as we come to conclude our first 10 minutes of on-track racing, and so far things are looking just as chaotic as the start. That's going to be Arscombe going off the side of the track, yielding to Simon Eade, potentially Eero Visuri as well, as we take stock of the immediate situation between our drivers. We can see top 3, Lindblom, Guillemot, Grosges, but that is subject to change. Grosges is really trying it on through some of these apexes in the corners, and Guillemot is stuck playing defense as Lindblom gets further away. Both of them going to briefly come together as Lindblom is just 4.5 seconds and counting. Grosges bumping into the side of Guillemot there. Now the key thing is, and you can sort of see that in the background with Matthias Lang, is you want to gain the advantageous position heading into these next set of right-handers, Sector 2/Sector 3. If you can get in the inside line, then you will have dominance over basically a third of the track. You have 4, nearly 5 consecutive right-hand corners And then you can swap sides and gain dominance at 2 more corners, effectively capping off the entire sector. All about strategic vehicle placement. Loris, once again, please stop manipulating the space-time continuum to jump up into 12th. I don't think you realise the chaos that you are doing to the timeline. O'Neill coming way through behind Patrick Larson. Just simple like-for-like racing. Julius is an odd one because he's completely marooned from the rest of bronze and is currently standing about 10 seconds away from the next closest bronze driver. That's going to be Grecian P24, but he is going to get overtaken by Hamby, and in fact they are going to make brief contact as Julius is on the defensive. He's not going to take that one lightly. It's already pretty battle-scarred in that Mustang. You can see the amount of scuff marks. Looking a little bit roughed up there. We have seen in the past a couple of drivers on the grid do sometimes play it a bit fast and loose, even if that means they engage in a little fender bender or two. It means keeping the position, they're willing to fight hard for it. Loris chasing down with all his might. You can see Martian Lenatus up ahead. Lenatus is kind of the sitting duck here, as he's got 3.5 seconds between himself and McNair. And despite McNair being in the same position, he's also got a massive gap to the Nismo, so he can effectively just go into hot lap mode and gain time back on the likes of Hall. You can see there the flicker as Wiggle briefly goes to the bottom of the grid and then back up to the top again. As if we're flipping the switch. Nicely done here from all the drivers. Now that things have settled a bit, what I can say is that, oh, never mind, I'm going to stop talking now, and oh, that's a double hit. That is Grosges not only spinning, but getting a bit of a love tap, shall we say. I think, was that Engdahl that was subject to that? Was that Hall? I couldn't quite tell from the angle. Either way, it was a McLaren, and Grosges now down into P9 is going to be suffering the consequences of that. Not a good look, not looking good for him at the moment, but hopefully time to recover as we're 15 minutes in. AMR 6.5 seconds, but now has a bit of a opportunity, shall we say. Bit of an opportunity for sure. Time to see what the field has in mind, as we do see Wiggle now doing one step further and teleporting to the front, and I'm not sure what magical wibbly wobbly spacey wacy timey wimey shenanigans that he's trying to go for here, but his teammate is doing an immaculate job holding on to P3. That much is definitely clear. Go. Timeline restored. I am going to keep running with this joke as long as he keeps glitching out like this. I know that it's not the real situation. It's just a bit of a network hiccup, a bit of a netcode moment. But, I mean, we've got to give a little bit more embellishment to when these hiccups and glitches happen every now and again, hey? A little bit more flavour, a little bit more spice. Marsh might hope to deliver, despite being made 70% out of marshmallow in his chassis. He is going to have some sharper edges to him as he chases onto Lenatus. Now, question is, how much is he willing to commit to this tack versus defending on for Wiggle? This is the balancing act that you play when you're in mid-pack and you are really just trying to get a bit of a balance between position versus retaining of position. It's that exercise in a way of restraint and knowing how to hold back a bit. Marsh is going to be hot on the heels of Linatus, but he's not exactly going forward with any kind of attacks. I think at this point, O'Wiggle is a bit too much of a concern to really leverage that position. Aid and Groich, meanwhile, on the final corner, have had a major off. Aid and Groich coming together, obviously, through the final corner. And we're actually going to take a bit of a wind back in time from the helicopter and see exactly what went down. So they were trailing away. Holmberg, I think, in the background there. And the two of them just through the final corner. You can see there's going to be a bit of a sort of closing of a window and unfortunately just slamming straight into the wall. I think that was maybe an awareness issue, as it did look like one driver was coming across to the other, but I'm not the steward, so let me know what you think if you're watching right now. Who was at fault for that incident, would you say? No. Hit a point of relative calm now. Wiggle still on the back, but Lang is about a second away from Gayamar, and Gayamar is not gaining time, but he's not losing it either. Peter Smith, meanwhile, trying to chase Holmes down, as David is going to be just up ahead. Get those two McLarens running together. Maybe you can start cooperating, bouncing off each other a little bit. Close-knit teammates that you are. Maybe see if there's a bit of strategy that you can pull. BMW briefly dipping two wheels onto the grass, I think trying to find the reasonable limit. Let's see what the 113 entry can muster as we go through and into Sector 3 now. BMW hot off the presses and in his crosshairs. Taking a narrower exit out of Curva del Carro, now into Curva Misano. As we will play this, maybe go for a bit of a better exit and switch back. But looks like the BMW has him very much covered off. Robert Homer as well, another car to watch. They saw a couple of altercations with other racers here, but he's on the back of Craig Morrison, and he's not taking no for an answer with this attack. BMW very much in his sights. Not yet going to be a chance for a challenge. Let's see how smooth we can get things going. Homer on the back of Morrison still. We also can check out in a minute Wolfslander v Bourne, as there is more to be discussed there. Looks like we will also see a couple of shifts around further down, as Helge Olsen has just been overtaken by David Smith. Boris continuing to shift around a little bit here. We might even see a three-way fight potentially brewing. Here's going to be Chris Bourne on the inside of Randy Zimmer. Wolfslander waiting in the wings, almost getting boxed out of the fight though, as they head through Sector 1 now into Sector 2. You can see the two Ferraris side by side. The Aston has got ahead and away with it, but the fight is far from over. So Zimmer is going to be on the inside here and trying to keep himself covered, but actually it's going to take a bit more of a conservative approach and is going to back off. I think there's a little bit of self-preservation at play there. If nothing else, he wants to make it to the end of the race, so there will be a bit of yield. Yield for the rest. Certainly excited to see what these racers do. And Wolfslander with a send at the end of Sector 3 here. Beautifully executed. That is going to be quite the clean move. Oh, Wiggle, curiously, has headed into the pits and done so fairly early. So I'm not sure what the game is here. Julius is also going to be doing the same, which kind of leaves me in a bit of a question mark in regards to their strategy. Are they going to be going for a much longer second stint? Is this really the only play that we can expect? Trying to hold form. Let's see what these racers have. Homer trailing onto the back of Craig Morrison still. We've seen these two be in very close proximity for a few laps, but no one has really not bothered, that's not the right word, but no one is in the position to pull the trigger on a decisive attack or decisive defense against each other. They seem to be just running in the same space, but otherwise not really bothering the other. Now, they could work a bit more cooperatively. They could be just giving each other the space to run cleanly, and that way they can catch up to Zimmer and Bourne. Very much a strategic option. If so, that is quite clever. But I think we're also coming up to the pit window, so some of that cooperation might be null. Might be null and void, for all we know. So we'll see also maybe a challenge coming in from James Payton as Arscombe is in his front view. Now Payton's in a bit of a weird spot because he needs to get past him and others in order to get the push and get himself into a position where he can actually start challenging gold class drivers. Sometimes it is just a case of you want to get this car behind you, not necessarily to gain, but more to get yourself closer to the actual points gaining positions. It also means that if you've got, say, 5 or 6 cars between yourself and the next spot, you might want to just focus on holding this position rather than make more mistakes. It's a careful balancing act. It is a bit of an odd one to try and judge, but we'll have to see how these drivers react to the situation. Trying to see exactly what we have in terms of movement on the back end of things. We do have Johan Larsson heading into the pits. So some drivers pulling the trigger on their pit stop a bit early in order to, I guess, get it out the way. Tight window of opportunity there between the racers, as no one is going to be wanting to make a rash move and put themselves in harm's way. Luis Miquez is going to be dropping down and, oh no, takes a bit of a crucial mistake as he slides out. Oh, but Curva del Caro in the final moment of the lap remains on track, as Larson and Thirdson are going to jump into the pits ahead of him. But yeah, start to see some strategic deference as the racers now judging when is the right time to go. If you're with traffic, you're in traffic, might be time to look at going in, if nothing else, to avoid the situation, or use them to pull you along at a higher pace until such a time as you run out of fuel or your strategy is just untenable. Is going to be James Payton as well, going on the challenge on Morrison's going to have the inside of this whole section, but has to yield back as he's not fully alongside and able to hold on the line. Nienblom, Engdahl, Lang all going into the pits earlier than the 30-minute mark, which is a bit of a curiosity. I think we're seeing some drivers wanting to sidestep traffic issues. that could very much be a part of it. So this is going to leave GMR in a weird spot because he's technically in first, but how much of that is going to hold? We're seeing the average pit stop time be about 75 seconds. 32 for the pit stop itself and 42 for the approach and exit. So that will be certainly one thing to watch. As Lindblom is making his way out of the pits now, is going to re-emerge on the edge of that turn 3, taking a little bit longer of a pit stop than his contemporaries, but I wonder if it's going to be enough of a difference in the grand scheme of things. He's still 6.5 seconds up last time we checked on GMR. This also leaves the question of when GMR's going to head into the pits, and that answer is right now. So Coolan's going to stay out a bit longer, along with some of the other cars that were currently leading. Coolan technically having the lead of the race and lead of silver. So he's done an immaculate job of controlling this race from his perspective. Going to be Hall not too far behind, so he's not in the clear. He's not in a position to rest on his laurels at all, but he's certainly coming from a good stance. And he's not going to be in any major trouble. Nicely done here from the drivers as Lenatus, GMR, Cutler all heading in now. And looking at GMR's perspective specifically, as we will do in a moment, I am deadly curious to find out where he's going to come out. Now, we've got Lindblom, who's going to be hard on the approach. And will the timing be enough? You can see that emerging out of the pits here. Is GMR going to come up ahead? It's going to be a tough call, but Lindblom, I think, is just going to pip him out here. Yep, GMR is emerging only from the pits now, and is actually going to be even longer of a pit stop than Lindblom. So the approach was the same, but he's taken an extra second on Lindblom's one. That's going to put him 7.1 seconds away. Made up a little bit of time in his alone lap, but now is going to be having some trouble trying to catch. They're both on new tyres and on even keel. So now it's just the seeing of where their fortunes lay as the session continues. Coolan heading into the pits, leaving Grosges and Hall to be the top spots now. Remember, we will see these top positions change a lot, not because they're fighting, but because they are heading into the pits, and everyone has chosen to do so at separate times. Sean O'Neill's going to jump in also, and that is going to be joining the over half of the field by this point, who have taken a stop in, and as we saw just there, Craig Morrison is going to be doing the same. Bowler, Aid, Dismakes, Kreutz, and Smith are in the pits. In fact, Bowler's just coming out now, I believe. There you go, he is. So, going to be taking a much longer stop. Looks like about 25 seconds more than the average. And, yep, we'll say right there. So that is a 52.9 stop compared to a 32.3 on average. So about 20 seconds. Not the margins that you want to be doing. But even so, we'll see if there is a chance for any kind of redemption or pullback from this one here. Where the rest of the field lands, we'll have to find out. There's going to be Grosges now heading into the pits. Will Hall be heading in? No, Hall remains committed out as we have officially crossed the halfway point of this session. 30 minutes remain, and now it's time to see who has got what it takes to bring this second leg of the event home. Marsh and Larson going to also be heading into the pit lane, meaning that there is about 10 to 15 drivers who have yet to take a stop, but that is an acceptable margin. Let's see what these racers have. Oh, wait, something's gone on here. Johan Larsson, Ibrahim Dinkman, they're both going to be hit with yellow flags and collision warnings. So let's wind the clock, see what happened. Here's going to be... Is Dinkman leading away from Larsson here. Heading out of Sector 2 into Sector 3. Let's see what Dinkman does and what Larsson does as well. You can see earlier brake and just caught off the McLaren. So that's going to be Dinkman coming off fine, but Larsson is a bit less of a happy chappy, and I don't blame him. It's going to be Dave Marsh, Patrick Larsson, Peter Wolfslener, Adam Ostrashaz, Damien Reed, Eero Fasuri, and Alex North, along with Randy Zimmer, all in the pit lane. Deluge of cars, getting some fresh rubber and fresh fuel in, setting off to complete the race. Frank Tennant's taking a bit of a quiet rise up to P16 meanwhile. He still has to take a stop, but will certainly be proving his silent grit and endurance throughout all of this. Amby heading into the pits in P3. Less than 10 drivers yet to stop in. See a bit of a chaotic cluster of cars here, as you can see Loris O'Wiggle and Coolan coming very close together and nearly resulting in an accident, collecting Tennant. Luckily, there is Coolan dipping out of the way, but I think there was a lot of corner tapping from O'Wiggle there. I think that might have been some netcode or connection shenanigans, given we've seen him teleport multiple times and disappear / reappear. See that there is a wiggle, so trying to go on the defensive, but Coolan is not going to be taking that move from him so lightly, as one could argue that that was gained off of collision, and subsequently a bit of a pain to deal with. See, there is going to be Coolan and Wiggle once again going on the challenge with each other and really just fighting tooth and nail. The both of them are not going to be holding back. And oh no, there's going to be a coming together. That's a Coolan finally is going to be the one to concede the position, but not in the way that he'd hoped. He's going to be all the way around and in fact returns to the pits, completely drops out and into the pit lane. So that could be a potential sign of a future disconnection. Wiggle's going to be getting that P13, but at what cost? And will be promoted up as the last drivers go into the pits soon. Tennant and Dinkman both still have to go in, but with Arscombe, who's just gone in now, Homer, McNair and Hall. Feeling that pressure to be certain between the racers. They do hold their nerve immensely well, considering that other drivers will be no doubt harassing and giving them a bit of a hard time. Say no more Mr. Nice Car for some. Tennant now heading into the pits. Arscombe is in as well. Dinkman is the sole bronze car who has yet to pit in, I believe that. And McIntosh in P27. Stuart Holmes is going to be coming out and into a bit of chaos as yellow flags briefly fly for him. He's just having a off-track excursion, shall we say. Hall and McNair finally heading into the pits, and that is just going to leave the last couple of cars as we get close to the 20-minute mark. So lots of drivers going for a bit of an overextend on their stint plans, and we do, as mentioned, see most drivers go for the middle ground. The perfect balance, 30 minutes per stint. That is the most optimal, and reducing your effective curb weight. The less weight that you can carry on the racetrack at any given time, the better of a time you will have. Looks like we're going to have Homer in a bit of a weird position, as it looks like he's triggered a yellow flag, but is in the pits, but not displaying as such in the pits. I don't really know what's going on there. That's just going to leave McIntosh and Diekman as the only non-pitted cars. And with that, the field is going to retain status quo. However, Matthias Lang is in P2. And has done quite the job of getting control, wrestling some control away from Frederick Gaimar. Now we have got Derek Hall coming out and into the wall there, so what's gone on for the number 14? This is a major panic moment. So Hall coming out of the pits. Did his control surface just decide not to work? Okay, so pushing out of the pits and oh no, cold tyres. Wait, no, he continues steering into the... I think that might have been a steering issue. No, I genuinely think that might have been a steering issue. Because you just don't really see that. And in fact, we've lost him entirely. So Hall is out of the session. And it is game over, as he faced a control surface issue exiting the pits. Homer is going to head in. Gaimar is going to be heading in as well, I think for a drive-through, as he's already taken his mandated pit stop, and that is going to be a death blow to any kind of challenge and competitive advantage he has at this point in time. Yep, you can see right there, he's just pulling straight through. The drive-through penalty has been administered. The drive-through penalty is to be served. Saw the number 431 car also get hit with one earlier in the race. That is going to be privy to Daniel Groich. That's why he's currently in P40. But there you go. So the drive-through has been cleared for none other than Mr. Gaimar, and that is going to put him P9. In the crosshairs of Dave Marsh, so could be in danger of getting out of the top 10. That is mightily concerning. Diekman and Homer finally pitting in. Just McIntosh now, and he is going to be doing the exact same. So everyone at this point has taken their pit stops as mandated by the rules. We have 21.5 minutes left, and this is a crucial chance for the racers to lock in and get some final positions before the clock strikes 0. We can see Linatus and McNair going toe-to-toe, wheel for wheel, and McNair is going to be taking the position for now, but Linatus is not taking that one lightly as they go really hard pushing. Theo Wiggle's going to be standing behind. This could be a Nismo trio fighting it all out for P6. All could be on the line here, just needs to get some composure and fight it alongside fellow racers. Going to be hard pressed to find them anything else other than giving it 110% here. A good chunk of the field meanwhile has spaced out. We have got a bit of a fight going in between Eid and Bowler, as Bowler is going to get the inside coming out of Sector 1 and in Sector 2. Eid is going to have the advantage heading into the right-hander. That is the double apex slash hairpin. And it looks like Bowler wasn't really able to narrow in and get the switchback that would have been so beneficial to him right about now. If he had the inside line, he could effectively command the corner and get that Aston Martin out of his way. Linatus and McNair spacing out a tiny bit. We'll check back within a moment. North and Diekman going to be much of the same. Hey, Robert Homer is into the pits for an extended period of time now, and that is not boding well for the 911 car. So Diekman and North going for a bit of a trade. You can see just up ahead of them. All about windows of opportunity, exploiting those windows here, as Björklund is going to get up into P23. Remember, Björklund at the front of the grid at the start, all the way up towards the top, I believe started in P5, but now is all the way down fighting for scraps compared to his start position. E23, of course, getting involved in the collision earlier. That has done a number on his race efforts here and is not going to be happy at all as a result. Just trying to resolve some bits on the back end then, folks. Apologies. Holmberg now heading into the pits, I believe, for also clearing a drive-through similar to his fellow racers. You can see already coming out the other side of it and into P26. Not a happy bunny, but that is going to clear him of the ire of the virtual stewards. As Robert Homer is going to be, I think it's fair to assume, out of this race. He's been in the pit for over 300 seconds, and that typically determines that they are a retiree. Gamar is going to be on the back of Loris O'Wiggle here. So hoping to get some kind of recovery, or at the very least some damage control, making his way through now and challenging on Loris. AMR is going to be real close to the back. Oh, a little bit of snappiness on that rear axle there. A little bit sketchy moving. So we'll see if Wiggle has the defense down. He keeps firm on the inside. Doesn't really allow Guillermo to attack the apex, but a bit of a switchback there could set himself up nicely. There's going to be a bit of traffic as Diz Marquez is going to respect the blue flags being waved by the stewards, or the marshals, sorry, alongside the track. Pixel Pilot's purple car is really feeling the pressure right now, as Guillermo is going to be knocking the door. Knocking on that door quite aggressively. Pushing through here, I believe that is Thiertsen, who is yielding the position. Dave Marshall also in the background, ready to give each other a run for their money if they make a crucial mistake. Still will be a lot riding on this, as the session is going to be young, but the session is going to be pretty endearing. So Gamer is coming in real hot there. He's right tight to the back. This could get a little bit nasty, as this is where all of the pressure builds. Pressure is building up big time. Gamer going for another big swing here. I will say as well, worth mentioning, I know that the Pixel Pilots team are also streaming their POV of this race too. I believe they are doing it on Twitch. So if any of them are watching this and the broadcast, I want to say hi, guys. Say good to have you, and say you've done some brilliant racing so far. I don't speak German. I'm not going to pretend to speak German, but it is great to have you on track, and you're doing a fine job out there. We'll see how these racers are getting on as Guillermo continues to be on the offensive, as O'Wiggle is feeling an immense amount of pressure. But he's actually holding the line and doing so quite effectively. Good defensive job here from Loris. Very good defensive job here, actually. Lang, meanwhile, in the blue variant, is it going to be... They're pushing a little bit more here and hopefully trying to pull out some time. Now, 8 seconds between himself and Limblom. That is quite a gulf to overcome. I think the better port of call is just getting the space away from Grosges, and in the final 15 minutes, make sure that you are not under any meaningful threat from that Ferrari tailing you. That's going to be the name of the game. That's going to be where things come to a head if not careful. There's going to be a swap of position as the 208 and 317 car are going to come together in the pursuit of position. Let's actually wind those clocks back and see what happened. So this is Guillermo tailing O'Wiggle. You can see O'Wiggle taking a bit of a deeper line through turn 2, and they also committing to that wide line through turn 3. Opens up a bit of a door, tiny bit of contact as the two briefly knock doors. And there you go, Guillermo secures the position throughout the end of Sector 1, and O'Wiggle is down by half a second to the Mustang. See Sean O'Neill coming in hot behind Justin Cutler, who's up into P15 now. Aggressive running, hard push. O'Neill going for a bit of an inside attack, but it can't quite materialise. See, nicely fought between these two. O'Neill is going to be having his way ahead of Cutler right now. So good job coming in from both the Mustang and the Nismo. Very impressive driving, I've got to say, despite the early chaos. And I know that we can't undo that. It has resulted in some drivers who have really showed their strength at recovery and damage control overall. It's been a good run, and for some races, it's a big shot. Big shot in the dark. But it's also, like we're saying, an opportunity for drivers to really showcase their skills at being able to recover from a bad situation. Some drivers might be just used to running in a certain place in the pack, and that's it. If they get placed in another situation, they're like a fish out of water. This gives them a chance to experience different positions and almost reprioritize and rethink how we run a race. With the greatest races, it's all about knowing when to attack as how to attack. Making sure those moves you make stick. There's a strong amount of pressure coming through in this mid-pack too. Aid, North, Bowler all together now. I'm going to see Johan Larsson a lap ahead. And trying to ask for passage in a moment, I think, from these drivers in the mid-pack. Will be a bit of combat between North and Bowler, I think, coming up here. As Johan Larsson is going to be given access, is going to be given passage. North and Aid will be doing the same, inevitably. It's just a case of when. So North is going to be remaining consistent and keeping a straight line in order to allow Larson to pass. And then that will be the ticket. Makes it through the start-finish. Less than 10 minutes remain now, folks, so it really is going to now be a case of Will they go for it? Will they push harder? Will there be a last parting shot in their race efforts? Bowler, now ahead of North, is going to be challenging on the second driver in this trio. It's going to be Simon Eade now on the defensive as they make their way through. Nicely driven and pressure being held. Jeff Payton is going to be back on Chris Bourne now. Gayamar is going to be up ahead and going for an attack on Linatus as well. As the fights are starting to brew, the time is coming to an end and the drivers know full well that it's go or it's gone. No more chance for dilly-dallying, no more time to wait. Simply put, drivers need to commit to their positions or get some new ones within the next couple of minutes. There will be no salvation, no chance for a comeback. Time to see what these teams have in store. Peyton coming up soon. A lot of championship points could be on the line here, and I think the championship points aspect of it is going to be a big kicker. With this 8-round season, there's less chances, and there is also going to be a much higher emphasis on driving consistently and cleanly. Those points penalties are no joke. We've seen drivers with sometimes in excess of 20 points in penalties, which is a ridiculous count. I think the prime leader of that count is Visharek, who had 32 in silver. And then it's a tie between Diekman and Julius with 24. Did have a third place, I think that was Coulomb with 21, but I'm getting beside the point. We have a drive-through being cleared. That is going to be both for the 331 car a couple of laps prior. That is going to be Craig Niesbet in P35. And we have a 157 penalty removal. That is Anil Thirdson, who is currently in 37. I say initial chaos aside, for many drivers it's been a bit of a quieter affair this time round. They don't need to reinvent the wheel. They don't need to drive or overdrive the car. But once that initial anarchy settled, it's simply a case of just driving smooth and clean to the end. I mean, look at Matthias Lang here. With Gayamar out of the picture down in P7, he effectively, provided that he's able to hold off from Grosges enough, has just calmly and in a collected way, just held a position onto P2. Started all the way in 7th and has just made work of the field throughout the race. It's been that most quiet riser within the team, within the group, and that is of course going to mean that we have some real push from the drivers here. Above all else, really nicely done from the racers, because they have shown their strength, shown their level of calm throughout this entire ordeal. It's nothing but good composure. And we'll be able to see here, if nothing else, what these drivers can bring when faced with the uncertainty that is the final laps of any race here. See here, hot on the heels of Matthias Lang. Maximilian Grosges is your car to beat, your car to follow. certainly impressed with how these racers are running their show. But every show, no matter how amazing, must eventually come to an end. I mean, it's been a beautiful race here out in Misano. The track has been perfect. There's been no wind or anything to speak of, and it's been a nice and hot 29 degrees surface. That is as good of a condition set as you can possibly get. There is nothing that you could do better here. In terms of track conditions, this is optimal for racing. Tyres are going to be nice and sticky, but the ambient is still a little bit lower, so you can keep that cooling under control. Don't have to make any unnecessarily aero compromises. So 3 minutes on the clock. That's going to be about 2 more laps, as the leaders are going to be soon coming up to the start-finish line for the penultimate run. There's going to be a send here from Grosges, and oh no, Lang is into the... almost into the wall, actually. That was a brutal send-off there, and you can see the flashes in frustration coming from Denismo as Grosges is going to be up ahead, yes, but at what cost? The two have come together, and I think the stewards are certainly going to have a thing or two to say about that one. At least from the perspective we saw, it looked like an inside send that didn't go to plan, but of course we'll have full verdicts from it in due course with time. Go. So, leader is on the penultimate lap now. You can also see that this is going to be Wolfslander trying to challenge on the back of Dave Marsh and get himself into the single digits, but it's not quite going to be enough here. Not yet. Greg Morrison is trying to get a move on Damien Reed as well. This is going to be for 3rd, I do believe, in class. We'll check the exact numbers on that. Nope, that is going to be for 5th, my mistake, as Hamby and Ostrachars have cleared themselves of the others in the group and have effectively run away with the space. See Morrison going on the inside, trying to challenge it, coming through Sector 2. The both of them going very wide and making contact all the way to the bank. That's going to open up a door for Iro to make an appearance. He's going to get boxed in by the Aston and the BMW. The fight is not done yet. Damien going for a bit of more of a attack there in response to the BMW. Reasserts his firm position holder, and Morrison along with Reed, these two are going to be really bearing a brunt of a fight here. Been an all-timer, these two. I think one to watch right to the end. See, Visuri is going to be hot on the heels as well, and you can hear there, over race control. The leader has started the final lap. And Lindblom, I gotta say, what a performance, because you have effectively just run off with it. And your main rival being sort of decommissioned and out of the picture with the drive-through penalty was a factor, yes, but ran the race cleanly, held your own, pulled out your own bit of time, and then all that drive-through did was just confirm the position. So Liam Blom has certainly taken the dominant stance with tonight's event and has put himself in a prime position to hold the second half of this championship in his clutches. Been a great race from himself. You're going to see Chris Bourne go for a last-minute send on the side of Justin Cutler. The two of them are going to go for a bit of a spar as they head into the final lap for themselves also. And Loris is going to be, again, briefly sort of jumping around on the field, but all eyes on a certain NSX as he comes through the final sector. David Lindblom has been out and out the dominant force today, and is going to be in a moment taking the checkered flag for round 4 of season 11. Mr. Lindblom take a bow, final corner coming through, and almost going for a bit of a slide for good measure. Congratulations, mate. You are the winner of Gold Class for tonight. And not to be outdone, to see the two drivers behind you as well. Fastest lap going to be Grosges here in P2, so a strong result from him as well, although we'll have to wait and see what Lang thinks of that, given the altercation they had towards the end there. Stewards might opine on it. All results are provisional, it's worth mentioning that, and that is where we conclude things for our podium for gold. Meanwhile, silver and bronze still very much taking it to the line. Paul Hamby is the driver of the day here. Silver win, and looking nigh unstoppable. 7 to 8 seconds away is going to be Ostrachaz in second place, but again, the two of them effectively marooned themselves from the field and was able to get away in light of the chaos and effectively using the chaos to their advantage. So Hamby, winner of silver for tonight, take a bow and rest on a great performance there. It's going to be Ostrachaz coming up to the line as well. That's in second place for silver, as there is going to be a lone Randy Zimmer now coming up to the line too, and will be taking our third spot. Also worth mentioning in the bronze side of things, some of them have already finished, but Sean Julius is going to be our winner here for bronze tonight, and we'll see him crossing the line. Randy Zimmer in third position. So Julius is going to be in first position with Diekman, and then Tennant in second and third. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is time. See the full grid over here on your left side. Unfortunately, we did have to say goodbye to a couple of other cars. A Homer getting a disqualification. Serrano, Coolin, Hall, and Smith, along with, say, Dismuquez, I think, not making it to the end of the track tonight. And then, say, John Aid finishing but 3 laps down. So still trudging the car over the line to the end, which is very much respectable. And then, sadly, we saw it in the chat, say David is going to get hit with a disconnection. So sadly was robbed of the opportunity to finish out here tonight. They haul bad fortunes, control issue, and that is going to be that. But that's where we're going to do it for tonight, folks. So thank you as always for watching. Beautiful audience no matter what. And well done to all of the drivers who have been center stage and continuing to bring us some amazing performances. Now, there is also the question of where we go next. And where we go next is we head into the second half of the calendar. It is another familiar circuit, another that to some may be a little bit Marmite, but it is going to be Zolder. This is another one with a notorious pit lane exit, arguably more notorious than we have here at Misano, but it is a roller coaster of a track nonetheless. Lots of sweeping corners, medium and high speed is the name of the game. Intersperse that with some right angles, and you've got a recipe for a chaotic and frenetic race event. 2 chicanes that really test your mettle and grit as a driver, and a lot to look forward to. But that is going to be for another time, folks, and that is going to be, of course, for next week, as we'll be here back again, same time, same Tuesday, but that's where we're going to clear ink for now. Here the green fight as the server gets reset, but that's where we're going to do it here for tonight, and I'm going to be personally resetting, ready for next week. Take care, folks. Thank you as always once again, and see you next time. Goodbye.
go!